Hi everybody, it's Adam from LUCIDPIXUL, and today I'd like to talk to you about the difference between personal and professional work, and furthermore, a personal and a professional gallery of work. There is a big distinction between the two, and that distinction is very important because when you're working on your portfolio, if you treat your personal work the same way you treat your professional work, you're going to run into some very bad situations, okay? You know me, I like to paint hypothetical situations. And in this one, imagine, okay, I'm going to transport you into a different world, and in this world you just came back from a Bjork concert. And you know Bjork, she's all about cool, funky looks, right? Crazy hair and makeup and all that kind of shit. And it really inspires you. So you decide that you want to go to a hair salon and get some crazy hairdo, right? Crazy colors, something really original and stuff like that. You want to spice things up a little bit. Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna go to get that done? Are you gonna go to an old 50-year-old Italian hairdresser who's had that same hairdressing salon for the last 50 years? Or are you gonna go to some new age, funky, psychedelic, I sound so old when I say shit like that, but like some old, like new age, coiffeur hair salon that specializes in pixel gradients and funky hair colors and hairstyles and stuff like that. Where are you going to go? Well, it's a no-brainer, right? You're not going to go to the Italian woman, because if you want to go to the Italian woman, she specializes in classic clean cuts. She's been doing the same thing for 50 years. This coiffeur is a lot more experimental. They've experimented with those tools. They know how to do that kind of stuff, right? So you're going to go there. Now, you could go to the barber, but chances are she's not going to know what you want, and it's going to be a disaster, right? So your chances are better to go to the other place. Now put that in the context of your own personal portfolio, more specifically your professional portfolio. If you have not yet made a distinction between a personal portfolio and a professional portfolio, chances are you're mixing it up together. Chances are you're presenting a professional portfolio when in fact what you're actually doing is presenting a personal portfolio. The client might not, depending on their own understanding of gallery production, how to actually set up a portfolio, might not recognize the difference between the other. I do, because I'm an artist, right? But you should understand the difference in terms of how those paintings were produced and how they are a reflection of you as an artist, i.e. your product, because your artwork is your product that you're selling to people. That is the product that you're going to deliver to people, okay? That's important to distinguish. What does this mean in terms of your artwork and how you put together your gallery? Well, when you're working on personal work, which is extremely important for developing yourself artistically, for exploring different things, for helping to find your voice, for helping to find techniques that you enjoy or styles of artwork that you enjoy, when you're working on personal artwork, you're experimental, you try a little bit of this, you try a little bit of that. Today you're inspired by Frazetta's work, so you try, a Frazetta style to composition and color. And then the next day you're interested in John Howe's work, so you work more on loose, light, feathery sketches in watercolor. And then the next day you're into Marvel comics, and the next day you're into horror, sci-fi, fantasy. Like every day you're experimenting with different things, which is fantastic. You're expanding your horizons, right? But you aren't settling on one set technique. Now you can do that. You can do it stress-free. You can have a lot of fun painting like that. Why? Well, because there's no deadline. Because there's nobody waiting for it. If you screw it up, who cares? I'll scrap it and start over. If it takes me a week, if it takes me an hour, it makes no difference to me because I'm doing my own stuff, right? But when you get called by a client, all of a sudden your entire headspace switches into a different mode, into work mode. And that's very often, I know I've experienced this in the past, especially earlier on in my career. When you switch into professional mode and all of a sudden you're working on demand, you can go into a bit of a panic if you're not prepared for it, okay? And that panic and that whole situation altogether can lead into a very difficult, upsetting, stressful, time-consuming, and discouraging experience, okay? To illustrate that, imagine you get hired by a client and the client says that they want you to do this. They want you to do this character with this kind of thing. The last 10 pieces of artwork that you did were very experimental. So there's no set technique or toolkit that you'll dip into in order to produce it. You're kind of sitting there going, okay, you know. So when the client gives you, you know, they send you the idea, or they give you an example, or they write in an email what they want you to draw. Okay, they tell you what you want, and your first instinctive reaction is, okay, how am I going to do this? If you're feeling that, then immediately you're on the wrong track. You're immediately in the wrong place, in the wrong headspace. Okay? You have no point of reference on how you're going to produce this piece of artwork. So one thing that artists do very often is they say, okay, well, what painting of mine did you like? Right? And if they say, well, I like this painting, or I like that painting, okay, then you can say, oh, okay, I have an idea of what they're looking for. So, and then you're sitting there in your head thinking to yourself, how did I paint that again? How did I paint that again? And you're trying to think of the technique you used to paint it, but you painted it like a year ago. So you're like, oh, fuck, I can't remember how I did that. So you try to go through the steps and so on and so forth. Now, to add to this dramatic situation, your client said they need it by noon the next day, okay? If you're lucky, very often the client wants it, you know, later on the same day. A lot of my clients want something in 5-6 hours, right? Depending on the complexity of your artwork, of course. So they want it, let's just, for this particular situation, they want it by noon the next day. So, and they called you at 3 o'clock. They wanted you to do it at 3 o'clock. So, okay, so 3 o'clock, they give you the thing, and you sit down and you start to paint. Now 5 o'clock hits, 6 o'clock hits, and you've tried about 2 or 3 different approaches and it's not working, right? You're having a hard time getting in the headspace, and that clock keeps ticking, like Captain Hook. You know, you keep hearing that tick-tock of the clock, and it's starting to build up your stress. Now 10 o'clock has hit, and your family's going to bed. You still haven't even been able to start something. You haven't started on a good foot. Now you're really starting to stress. Now it's 1 o'clock in the morning. You're starting to get tired. You know, if you're not a night owl, right? You're starting to get tired, and you're realizing that that time gap has gotten narrower and narrower. So you start to think things like, okay, am I going to pull an all-nighter, or am I going to go to bed and wake up early in the morning and try to crunch it out fast, you know? One way you don't get sleep that night, the other way you're under a very tight time constraint. So you decide to go to bed, and you crash, and you set your alarm for 6:30 in the morning. You tiptoe, not to wake up your kids, and you go into your studio and you start to paint at 6 o'clock in the morning. And so you're painting, and it's not coming out, And then maybe by like 9-10 o'clock a.m., you got to settle on something because it's got to be delivered in 2 hours. You're under a terrible panic. You haven't slept well, and you're painting your ass off to try to get it out. And you deliver something that you feel is very lackluster, but kind of, sort of, hopefully he'll settle for that. And you deliver it. And you go, oh, I delivered it. Thank God. And then you sit there and keep your fingers crossed. I hope he likes it. I hope he likes it. I hope he likes it. Or I hope he only wants small revisions for it, you know? And then you get that email back from your client an hour later or 2 hours later. And he responds, we don't like it. And you go, fuck, back to square one again. Now, if you're lucky, he might say, I'll give you a second chance. Okay? I'll give you a second chance. If you're lucky. And furthermore, you haven't even negotiated how that's going to adjust the salary. Are you going to charge him for a day that you didn't deliver him anything good? You know, legally speaking, time is money, but at the same time, how do you feel being a client who's paying for something you didn't receive? It's like purchasing a boat at the hardware store, and then you walk out without the boat, right? You paid for it, you should own it, right? Time, you know, they're investing in something. You're not just going to hand them nothing. So maybe you negotiate not getting paid for that, or getting paid for half of it. So it's like, fuck, that's not a nice feeling. I put like 14 hours into it and I didn't get paid. And then crunch, you working. It's another stressful day. They might have sent you a couple of references from other artists of stuff that they like to serve in as an example, but you can't pick up that other person's art style overnight, and you're in a panic, and you deliver it, and then you get the email back again, and they say, good case scenario, okay, we're not going to keep you. We decide we're going to go with another artist, but, you know, we'll pay you for the time. Or we'll, if you don't mind, we'll reach some kind of a settlement because we didn't get what we were looking for, but I don't want to completely rip you off, so maybe we'll give you half, you know? I would say take it, you know? Take it. Because in all fairness, you know, if I was in that situation and I didn't deliver something, if they actually were kind enough to offer something, I'll take it. You know, putting contracts aside, of course, right? A lot of clients will say, you didn't deliver anything. I'm not paying you for anything. You know, I'm not going to pay you for something I didn't receive. And that's when the legalities come into it. Now, if you're young, you're straight out of school, it's one of your first contracts, I'm going to be blunt with you. What are you going to do? If your client, if you deliver something and you spent 48 hours on it, if you're lucky it's only 48 hours, what are you going to do? You going to threaten them with a lawyer? You don't have money for a lawyer. Your client knows you don't have money for a lawyer. You're 19 or you're 25. You don't have money for a lawyer. You still have school loans you're paying off. You don't have money for a lawyer. A lawyer can be hundreds of dollars an hour, okay? You don't have money for that, okay? A lot of seasoned professionals don't have money for a lawyer. So you can threaten him with a lawyer, but he'll say, okay, well, here's my lawyer's number. Let me have yours. You don't have one, okay? It's not going to happen. So in that particular case, what happens is, you know, if you do get a lawyer, you can get a pro bono lawyer for a $3,000, you know, contract. Good luck. That's if anything, it's not going to happen. You know, realistically speaking, it's not worth the trouble. You end up letting it go and you count your losses. Now that's in the case I painted as very discouraging as that situation might be. It is a stressful situation. It is discouraging, but I only gave you a 24-hour contract. Try a 3-month contract where they only pay you at the end of it. If they only offer to pay you at the end, and then they don't pay you. You've just worked for free for 3 months. Okay? Whew. Okay? I know the feeling, and a lot of other artists out there. Why do you think artists like Steven Silver are so strict on getting paid for your work? Because he's eaten crow in his career too, and he's trying to help people overcome that as well. Okay? So you see what I'm saying? So you don't have money for a lawyer. So one of the things you can do to protect yourself in that particular regard, I'm not going to get into all the legalities and contracts, but I will refer you to one of the best resources, and that's a site called ArtPact that only started maybe a year or two ago. artpact.com, I think. Just look up ArtPact on Google and you should be able to find it. Absolutely wonderful. Lawyers, professionals, directors all come together. All the documentation you can download for free if you want an NDA or different contracts, understanding the legalities of copyright and work and all that kind of stuff. Fabulous resource. And I think if you want to be a member for exclusive content, it's like $5 a year. Okay? It's really dirt cheap. So go and check that out. But I'm going to take legalities out of this. I'm just going to deal with this. I'm just going to approach it on a moral standpoint, because when it comes to you being new to the industry or not having the money to pay for a lawyer, it really comes down to morality at that point, because you really don't have a legal foot to stand on to protect yourself from that. That's just the truth. Okay? At least when you're young and you don't know what your legal rights are yet. But you know what I'd rather teach you? I want to teach you how to avoid that situation altogether. The trick to it is when you're producing your artwork, while you're producing your artwork, let's say you're doing this and that, and you're new to it, you're just trying to figure out what that technique is, or you've been painting for a long time and you do have certain techniques that work well for you, okay? What you want to do is very consciously develop a toolkit of techniques, a very small toolkit, not a big one, a small toolkit, a very simplified 3-4 step max toolkit process, a step-by-step process on how to produce a certain type of artwork, okay? So let's say you produced a certain character design or an environment design where the technique was very fleshed out, it came out of you well, you know, the results were good, the response you got from people were good, and the process was very intuitive. Your next piece of artwork is going to be using exactly the same technique. Not 2 or 3 pieces later, the next one. And then the next one after that, and the next one after that, and after that, and after that, until you have about 12 to 15 pieces of artwork. Okay? You're going to produce an entire series of artwork based on a single technique or a single small, very refined tool set with a little bit of creativity here and there. But overall, the quality and the technique and the process is the same process through every single painting. That's what a professional portfolio is made of. Why? Because when your client calls you up and tells you, first of all, when you have a series of artwork like that on your gallery, it's consistent, the narrative is consistent, the technique is consistent, the look is consistent. That's your product. That's what you're telling people. This is who I am. This is what I'm delivering you. Okay? It's not a mishmash of 20 different types of styles. It's one style. It's one narrative. Okay? Or one world of art using a similar technique, if not an identical technique for every single piece of artwork. When your client calls you up and asks you to do the piece of artwork, they're doing that, they should, if they have half a brain, they should be doing it based on the artwork that they see in your portfolio that is all consistent. So they know You are the right person to hire, and they have a very strong idea of what you're going to deliver. When they call you for that job, your first reaction isn't going to be, okay, how am I going to do this? If you're thinking that, remember, you're already on the wrong track. Your reaction would be, okay, you want me to do this? Okay, and you go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, deliver. Move on to the next contract. Another contract, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, deliver. The quality is fantastic. The finished product is fantastic. The client's happy. If they need you to do refinements, piece of cake, little refinements, no problem there, okay? You did not reinvent yourself for that particular project. They hired you for you. You are your product. They're hiring you for your product. You deliver your product, and your product is a recipe. You're not going to go to McDonald's and expect Burger King food. Not that I recommend you eat in either one of those places, right? You're not going to go to McDonald's and expect food from the Ritz-Carlton. McDonald's makes McDonald's food. Ritz-Carlton makes Ritz-Carlton food, right? The same thing applies to artists. Are you going to hire another artist to do the artwork that I do? Are you going to hire me to do the same art as that other guy? No, because they're the ones who specialize in it. They know their technique and you know your tastes, and that's the best person for the job. So you hire them, they deliver it, and they're happy. Another client likes my work, they hire me, I deliver it, they're happy, okay? And I delivered it in a timely manner, and I didn't stress. What I actually do is let's say hypothetically, if the deadline is noon the next day, I negotiate noon the next day. That's going to be the date of delivery. But that noon the next day includes a big buffer. I know I'm going to have it done by 9 o'clock. I bill by the day. By the way, I don't bill by the hour unless it's extra hours, you know. I bill by the day generally, which is why, you know, if I say the next day, they're not going to panic. It's not going to cost them more. I'm not sitting on the clock like this, like a taxi cab at a stop sign collecting money. You know, they're delivered. That's the day that I'm working, and they're going to have it by the end of the day. Let's say they want it by noon the next day. I know I'm probably going to have it done by 9, 10 o'clock that night. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to have a full night's sleep. I wake up in the morning, and I have a second look at it with fresh eyes. If it needs a few little last tweaks, because you always find tweaks to do when you get a fresh look at it, I put another extra 30 minutes to an hour into it. I deliver it at 10 a.m. They got it ahead of time. They're happy with the product. Win-win situation. And at no point in time did I stress. I knew what they wanted from me. I knew how to do it because the last 15 pieces of artwork that I produced were done exactly the same way. Okay? That was my product. That was my toolkit. Okay? That was my particular approach to my artwork. But if I did 20 different styles of artwork and then they asked me do something like that painting you did last year, good luck. Even your own work can be foreign to you if you haven't done it for a long time. Take it from me. I know. Okay, I've been there. I've been through this experience. So when it comes to producing, to growth, to learning, to exploring, to expanding, to becoming a better artist, you need that personal work. Okay? You need to explore. You need to open your eyes to different things. You need to take your time. You need to take your time to do it right so that that technique can click for you, and the next time you do it, that part of the body, that color technique, that whatever it is that you're doing makes full sense to you. And if you like it and it works, do it again and again and again and again, and that will translate into a professional portfolio. Okay? Find that technique and find that style, and always make sure to keep your mind fresh on that technique. Look at any artist, any well-known artist that you can see online. Okay, anyone that's reputable, that knows what they're doing. They might have their own mentorships, their own whatever the case might be. Okay, look at their work, and if they've actually done any kind of professional work and they know what they're doing, chances are when you look at their portfolio, it's full of the same type of work and the same quality level and the same technique. It doesn't mean that's all they're capable of doing, but it means that that's the kind of stuff that markets the best, that is the most repeatable, the most intuitive process, and gets them the best results in contracts. Okay, I'm not going to name specific artists, but I don't have to. You can go online and look at any artist that you like, and chances are that's what you're going to see. Okay, you're not going to hire one artist to do something that they completely don't do. You're going to find the artist that fits, that has the product that you're looking for. Okay, so that's that for this talk. Hopefully this either A, helped you solve a problem that you faced in the past, or B, is going to prepare you for something you haven't yet experienced because you haven't had professional work yet. Be aware of that though. If you're new to the industry and your gallery is kind of a mishmash of caricatures and environment designs and mech designs and all kinds of different stuff, even if you get hired, you might not be ready for the professional world yet because you haven't developed that technique yet. So at this point, if you're ready and you want to be ready for the professional world as soon as possible, get cracking on it as soon as possible, all right? And if you need help for refining your technique, look for somebody to help. And on that note, if you're interested in mentorship, remember with my LucidPixul, with LucidPixul mentorship, it's a first come, first serve thing. But there's always openings coming and going, so you can get in touch with me if you want to know all about that. You can join me on Facebook, link in the description. You can send me an email, mentorship@lucidpixul.com, link in the description. You can go to adamduff.com as well, where my gallery and all the explanations and all the info on my mentorship as well is there. Link in the description. And remember, if you like it, like and subscribe. All right, take care, everybody.